The birthday chocolate my son gave me looked perfect from the outside. Jonathan Monroe here, and what I discovered hidden inside that innocent Godiva box will haunt me forever. My oldest boy Harry showed up at my door with the biggest smile, talking about how much he loved his old man, how sorry he thought we'd been having problems lately. That chocolate box sat on my kitchen counter for 2 days, while something in my gut kept screaming danger. 38 years raising that kid, and I'd never seen him spend $45 on anything for me. Not once. So when my daughter-in-law Tara stopped by asking for dessert to take to her book club, I handed her that beautiful gold box without a second thought. 3 hours later, she was in the emergency room fighting for her life. The doctors found something in those chocolates that changed everything I thought I knew about my family. I'd love for you to stick around for this story, hit that subscribe button if you're new here, and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Trust me, you've never heard a family story quite like this one. What my son hid in those chocolates destroyed our family forever. Let me start by showing you exactly how my family saw me before everything unraveled. 2 incidents. Both should have been red flags. The first happened 3 months after my wife Eleanor died of cancer. Harry showed up at my house in Thornton with a folder full of paperwork. "Dad, you're making mistakes with the bills," he said, spreading documents across my kitchen table. "Look at this electric bill. You paid it twice. And this credit card payment? You forgot it completely." I looked at the papers. He was right. Grief makes you sloppy. "Let me help you," Harry continued. "I'll set up online banking. Make it easier." Before I knew it, Harry had access to my checking account. Joint access, he called it, for my own protection. The second incident happened at Thanksgiving dinner at my daughter Tara's house. I was telling my grandkids about a case I'd worked in the 80s, a poisoning case involving antifreeze in coffee. Harry rolled his eyes. "Dad, you've told that story 5 times already." "I haven't told it 5 times, I said. "You have. Your memory isn't what it used to be." The whole table went quiet. Tara looked uncomfortable. Harry's wife Linda nodded sympathetically, like she was dealing with a confused elderly relative. "Maybe we should talk about Dad's living situation," Harry said to Tara, as if I wasn't sitting right there. "That big house is too much for him to handle alone." "I can handle my house just fine," I said. "Can you, though?" Harry's voice had this patronizing tone I'd never heard before. "When's the last time you balanced a checkbook? When's the last time you even knew what day it was without looking at your phone?" I wanted to argue, but the truth was, since Eleanor died, some days did blur together. Some bills did slip through the cracks. I was grieving, not incompetent. But Harry was painting a picture of mental decline. "We're just worried about you," Linda chimed in. "Maybe assisted living wouldn't be such a bad idea. Somewhere with activities, meal plans, medical staff nearby." Assisted living. They were talking about putting me in assisted living. I was 68 years old, not 98. I'd solved over 400 cases during my career, including 3 serial killers and a dozen murder-for-hire schemes. But according to my own family, I couldn't be trusted to live in my own home. That's when I started paying attention, really paying attention. I noticed how Harry had started calling me twice a week, always asking about my finances and my health. I noticed how he'd volunteer to pick up my medications, to drive me to doctor's appointments, to help with paperwork. Most telling of all, I noticed how he talked about my house, our family home, where I'd raised 4 kids, where Eleanor and I had planned to grow old together. Harry kept mentioning its value. $847,000, he'd say. That's what Zillow estimates. In this market, probably closer to 900,000. He wasn't helping me manage my life. He was inventory taking my assets. But I played along, smiled and nodded when he talked down to me. Let him think his old man was slipping. Because 32 years on the force had taught me something Harry had never learned. The best way to catch a predator is to look like prey. The question was, how far was he willing to go? The answer came on a Thursday morning in October when I was going through my mail. Mixed in with the usual bills and junk was an envelope from MetLife Insurance. Policy update notification. I almost threw it away. Almost. Instead, I opened it. Inside was a beneficiary change form, dated 2 weeks earlier. My signature at the bottom, except I'd never signed it. According to this document, I had removed my 4 children as equal beneficiaries of my $2.3 million life insurance policy and made Harry the sole recipient. 100%, $2.3 million, tax-free, paid directly to Harry Monroe upon my death. My hands started shaking. Not from age, from rage. I called MetLife immediately. The customer service representative confirmed the change had been processed on October 15th, using my online account access. The same online access Harry had set up for my convenience after Eleanor died. Sir, according to our records, the change was submitted using your username and password at 11:47 p.m. on October 15th, the rep said. October 15th. I remembered that night. I'd gone to bed at 9:30, exhausted from a day of yard work. Harry had stopped by around dinner time to check on me, staying until almost 10. Plenty of time to note down my password when I wasn't looking. I hung up and sat in Eleanor's old chair, trying to process what this meant. Harry hadn't just stolen my bank account access, he'd stolen my life insurance. And he'd done it so smoothly, so quietly, that if I hadn't randomly opened that envelope, I never would have known. But here's what really chilled me. Why change the beneficiary unless you're planning to collect soon? I did the math. Harry was 42, divorced, paying alimony and child support to his ex-wife Sarah. His salary at the insurance company where he worked was maybe $67,000 a year. I'd heard whispers from Tara that Harry had gambling problems, that he owed money to the wrong people. $2.3 million would solve all his problems. But only if I died. If I stayed silent, I'd lose everything. My house would go to Harry. My savings would go to Harry. My other 3 children, Tara, Carl, and Pete, would get nothing. I'd die as a foolish old man who let his son manipulate him out of his entire legacy. If I confronted Harry directly, he'd deny everything, claim it was a computer error, promise to fix it. Then he'd just be more careful next time. But if Harry was desperate enough to forge insurance documents, how desperate was he? Desperate enough to speed up the timeline? I thought about Eleanor, about the promise I'd made to her before she died. "Take care of the kids," she'd whispered. "Make sure they're okay after I'm gone." Harry wasn't okay, and unless I did something, he was going to destroy everything Eleanor and I had built together. I waited 3 days before calling Harry, 3 days to plan my approach, to think like a detective instead of a hurt father. "Hey, Dad," Harry answered on the second ring. "How are you feeling today?" "I'm fine. Harry, I need to ask you something." "Sure, what's up?" "I got some mail from MetLife about my insurance policy." Silence, just for a second, but I caught it. "What kind of mail?" His voice was carefully neutral. "Says there was a beneficiary change. Says you're the only one listed now." "That's weird. Must be a computer error." "Computer error?" "Yeah, you know how these insurance companies are, always screwing up paperwork." "Harry, did you change my beneficiary designation?" "Dad, why would I do that?" Notice he didn't say no. He asked why he would do that. "I don't know why. That's why I'm asking." "Look, Dad, I think you might be confused. When's the last time you actually reviewed your policy?" There it was, the condescension, the gentle suggestion that old Dad was getting things mixed up again. "I'm not confused, Harry." Okay, I'll call MetLife tomorrow. Get it sorted out." "I already called them." Another pause, longer this time. "You called them?" "I called them. They said the change was made online, October 15th, 11:47 p.m. "Dad, I think maybe... Where were you that night, Harry?" "What?" "October 15th. Where were you at 11:47 p.m.? "I don't remember. Home, probably. Dad, you're starting to worry me. You were at my house until 10 that night." "Was I? I don't really remember. So, You do remember. You stayed for dinner. Leftover pot roast." "Dad, listen to me. You're getting paranoid. This insurance thing, it's clearly a mistake." "Is it?" "Yes. And honestly, the fact that you're accusing me of... What exactly are you accusing me of?" "I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm asking questions." Questions that sound a lot like accusations. His voice was getting harder now. Less pretend concern, more irritation. Harry, I need you to be straight with me. I am being straight with you. Are you? Dad, I think maybe you should talk to someone. Someone? A professional. A counselor. This paranoia, these accusations, they're not normal. And there it was. The classic manipulation tactic. I ask reasonable questions about my own insurance policy, and suddenly, I'm paranoid. I notice suspicious behavior, and suddenly I need professional help. I don't need a counselor, Harry. I think you do. And honestly, I think we need to have a serious conversation about your living situation. My living situation. Dad, you can't keep track of your own insurance policy. You're accusing your own son of fraud. You're clearly not capable of managing your affairs anymore. I managed just fine for 68 years. That was before Mom died, before your memory started going. My memory's fine. Is it though? When's the last time you remembered to take your blood pressure medication without me reminding you? He was deflecting, turning the conversation away from the insurance fraud and onto my supposed incompetence. This isn't about my medication, Harry. It's about everything, Dad. It's about the fact that you can't take care of yourself anymore. I can take care of myself. Can you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're falling apart. The cruelty in his voice was shocking. This wasn't concern. This was contempt. I'm not falling apart. Dad, you forgot to pay your electric bill 3 times last month. I was grieving. You forgot Tara's birthday. I sent her a card. 2 weeks late. He had an answer for everything. A catalog of my small failures since Eleanor died, weaponized against me. Harry, all I want to know is, I'll call MetLife tomorrow, he said firmly. I'll get this insurance thing fixed. But Dad, we're going to have to talk about getting you some help. The call ended. I sat there holding the phone, replaying every word. Harry never denied changing the beneficiary. He promised to fix it, which wasn't the same thing as claiming innocence. And his immediate pivot to questioning my mental state? Classic guilty behavior. But what really told me everything I needed to know was that final threat. We're going to have to talk about getting you some help. Translation. If I kept asking questions, Harry would have me declared incompetent. Game on. That weekend, I did something I hadn't done in 2 years. I drove to my old precinct. Detective Lisa Crawford was at her desk, gray hair pulled back, reading case files with the same intensity she'd had when we were partners 15 years ago. She looked up when I knocked on her doorframe. "Jonathan Monroe," she said, breaking into a grin. "Don't tell me you're here to complain about your pension again." "Not this time." I sat down across from her. "I need a favor." Lisa leaned back. We'd worked together for 8 years, solved dozens of cases. She knew when I was serious. "What kind of favor?" "Hypothetically," I said, "if someone wanted to poison another person and make it look like natural causes, what would they use?" "Hypothetically?" "Hypothetically." Lisa studied my face. "Jonathan, are you working a case I don't know about?" "Private matter." She was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled out a pen and started writing on a notepad. "Hypothetically," she said, "there are several options. Ricin takes too long and leaves traces. Arsenic is detectable in hair and nails for months. But cyanide? Cyanide metabolizes quickly. If you dose someone right, it looks like a heart attack. How would someone get cyanide? Jewelry cleaner, pool chemicals, certain photography supplies, or they could extract it from almonds, apricot pits, things like that." She tore off the sheet and handed it to me. "Hypothetically," she added, "if someone was planning to use cyanide, they'd probably test it first. Make sure they got the dose right. Too little, the victim gets sick but survives. Too much, it's obviously poison. Test it how? Practice run, lab rat, small animal." I folded the paper and put it in my pocket. "Thanks, Lisa." "Jonathan," she leaned forward, "whatever this is about, be careful." "I'm always careful." "No, you're not. You're stubborn and you take risks. Always have." She was right, but this time the risk wasn't mine alone. That evening I went through my old case files. I'd kept copies of everything in my basement office, organized by year. I found what I was looking for in the 1996 folder, State versus Patricia Hawkins. Patricia had poisoned her husband with cyanide in his coffee, trying to make it look like a heart attack. She'd practiced on their neighbor's cat first. The cat died within minutes, but Patricia didn't realize cyanide has a distinctive smell. Bitter almonds. The veterinarian who examined the cat noticed it immediately. Patricia went down for first-degree murder. I read through the toxicology reports, the witness statements, the forensic evidence. Then I made 3 phone calls. The first was to Dr. Robert Sterling at Presbyterian St. Joseph Hospital. Bobby and I had worked together on dozens of cases. He'd testified as an expert witness in the Patricia Hawkins trial. "Jonathan, good to hear from you," Bobby said. "How's retirement treating you?" "Can't complain. Bobby, if someone came into your ER with cyanide poisoning, how quickly would you recognize it?" "Immediately. Cherry red lips, bitter almond breath, rapid onset. Why?" "Just curious. Old case I was thinking about." "The Hawkins case? That was a good catch. Without your work, we never would have made the connection." My second call was to Patricia Hoffman, an estate attorney who'd helped Eleanor and me update our wills 5 years ago. "Patricia, it's Jonathan Monroe. I need to ask you something. If someone forged documents to change an insurance beneficiary, what kind of crime is that?" "Insurance fraud, forgery, possibly elder abuse if the victim is over 65. Federal crime too, since it involves interstate commerce. We're talking 10 to 15 years minimum. And if that person then tried to harm the policyholder to collect the benefits? First-degree murder, life sentence." My third call was to my youngest son, Carl, who worked in IT. "Dad, what's up?" "Carl, I need you to show me something. How would someone track what websites another person visits?" "You mean like parental controls?" "Something like that." "There are apps for that. Browser history, search history, even deleted files. It's all recoverable if you know what you're doing." "Could you show me?" "Sure, Dad, but why do you want to know?" "Just curious about computer security." Then after I hung up, I sat in my basement office, surrounded by 32 years of case files. Every instinct I'd developed as a detective was screaming the same thing. Harry was planning something. Soon. The insurance change was just the setup. The next move would be the kill shot. I just had to make sure I was ready for it. My 68th birthday fell on a Tuesday. Harry insisted on taking the whole family to dinner at Giuseppe's, an upscale Italian place in downtown Denver, where the cheapest entree cost $38. "This is too expensive," I told him when he made the reservation. "We could just do something at home." "Dad, it's your birthday. Let me treat you." Treat me with what money? I wondered. His gambling debts were supposedly in the 6 figures. But I didn't argue. I wanted to see how far he'd take this performance. The whole family was there. Harry and his new girlfriend, Monica, Tara and her husband, James, Carl and his wife, Beth, even my youngest, Pete, who drove down from Colorado Springs. 8 people around a big table, ordering wine and appetizers, celebrating dear old Dad's birthday. Harry made a toast to my father, Jonathan Monroe, 32 years keeping Denver safe, 38 years being the best dad 4 kids could ask for. Everyone raised their glasses. I smiled and nodded, playing my part. "Dad's getting older," Harry continued, "but he's still sharp as a tack, still telling the same stories about his police days." Tara laughed. "Remember the one about the guy who tried to rob a bank with a banana?" "That wasn't a banana," I said. "It was a piece of wood carved to look like a gun." "See," Harry said, "sharp as a tack." But his tone suggested the opposite, like I was a sweet old man losing his marbles, telling the same confused stories over and over. The food came. Harry had ordered for me without asking, chicken parmesan, medium well. Not what I would have chosen, but I ate it without complaint. "Dad, we need to talk about your house," Harry said between bites. "What about it?" "It's too big for one person, too much maintenance." "I can handle the maintenance." "Can you, though?" Harry's voice carried that familiar, condescending tone. "James told me your lawn hasn't been mowed in 3 weeks." James looked uncomfortable. "I just mentioned it looked a little long." "A little long?" Harry interrupted. "It's a jungle. The neighbors are probably complaining. The neighbors haven't complained about anything, I said. Yet, but they will, and then what? City fines? Homeowner association violations? Carl tried to change the subject. Dad, how's your new doctor working out? He's fine. Good, Harry said. Because at your age, medical care is crucial. That's another reason why the house doesn't make sense. What if you have an emergency? What if you fall down those basement stairs? Who's going to find you? I have a medical alert bracelet. You have a bracelet you never wear. This was true. The thing was bulky and uncomfortable. Harry, Tara said gently, maybe this isn't the best time. When is the best time? Harry's voice was rising. When Dad's lying at the bottom of the stairs with a broken hip? When he's been dead for 3 days because nobody thought to check on him? The table went quiet. Other diners were starting to stare. I check on him, Tara said. Once a week, Harry shot back. If that. And Carl lives in Colorado Springs. Pete's in Denver but works 60 hours a week. I'm sitting right here, I said quietly. I know you're sitting here, Dad, but you're not listening. You're not facing reality. What reality is that? That you're 68 years old, living alone in a house that's too big for you with no support system, declining cognitive function, and too much pride to admit you need help. Declining cognitive function. He said it like a medical diagnosis. My cognitive function is fine. Is it? Because yesterday you called me 3 times in 2 hours. Same question each time. You forgot we'd already talked. This was a lie. I'd called him once, maybe twice, but how could I prove it without seeming defensive? And last week, Harry continued, you drove to the grocery store in your pajamas. Another lie. I'd worn sweatpants and a t-shirt to run a quick errand. Casual clothes, not pajamas, but Harry was painting a picture for the family. Confused old man, wandering around in his sleepwear, calling people repeatedly, forgetting conversations. You're exaggerating, I said. I'm worried about you. We all are. He looked around the table for support. Tara looked uncomfortable but nodded slightly. Carl and Pete were studying their plates. Even Monica, who barely knew me, was nodding sympathetically. There are some really nice places, Harry continued. Assisted living communities with activities, meal plans, medical staff on site. You'd have your own apartment, but you'd be safe. I'm safe in my own house. Are you? Because honestly, Dad, looking at you right now, you seem confused, agitated, maybe a little paranoid. There was that word again. Paranoid. I'm not paranoid. You accused me of insurance fraud last week. The table was dead silent now. This was the first anyone had heard about our phone conversation. That was a misunderstanding, I said carefully. Was it? Because it seemed like you thought I was trying to steal your money. Harry was forcing me to choose. Look paranoid or back down. If I defended my suspicions, I'd sound crazy. If I backed down, I'd look weak and confused. I got some confusing paperwork, I said finally. I asked you about it. You accused me of fraud. I asked questions. Paranoid questions. Tara reached over and put her hand on mine. Dad, maybe Harry has a point. Maybe it would be good to look at some options, just to see what's available. My own daughter was siding with him, my own flesh and blood, agreeing that I needed to be put away for my own protection. I'm not ready for assisted living, I said. Nobody's ever ready, Harry replied, but sometimes family has to make hard decisions. Family has to make hard decisions. Not me. Family. As if I was already incompetent to decide for myself. The waitress came by with dessert menus. Harry waved her off. Actually, we have dessert already, he said, reaching into a bag beside his chair. I brought Dad's favorite. He pulled out a beautiful Godiva chocolate box, gold foil wrapping, burgundy ribbon, $45 worth of imported Belgian chocolates. Happy birthday, Dad, Harry said, sliding the box across the table. I looked at the box, looked at Harry's smiling face, looked at my family, all watching expectantly, and every instinct I'd developed in 32 years of police work started screaming danger. Thank you, I said, picking up the box. This is beautiful. Open it, Harry urged. I will, at home. Save them for later. Come on, Dad, just one. It's your birthday. The whole table was watching, waiting for me to open the box and eat the chocolates my loving son had brought me. "You know what?" I said, standing up. "Tara, why don't you take these home? You and the kids love chocolate more than I do." "Dad, those are for you," Harry said quickly. "I'm watching my sugar. Doctor's orders." I handed the box to Tara before Harry could object. The look that flashed across Harry's face lasted maybe half a second, but I caught it. Pure panic. At 7:47 p.m. on Wednesday, November 8th, my daughter Tara called 911. "My father gave me chocolates last night," she told the dispatcher, her voice strained and breathless. "I ate 2 pieces after dinner and now I can't breathe. Something's wrong, something's really wrong." I was already in my car driving to Presbyterian St. Joseph Hospital when she called me. "Dad," she gasped, "the chocolates. Something was in the chocolates." "I'm 5 minutes away," I told her. "Don't hang up." But the line went dead. I found Tara in the emergency room, hooked up to oxygen, her lips an alarming shade of cherry red. James was standing beside her bed, white-faced and shaking. "What happened?" I asked. "She started feeling dizzy around 7, James said. "Then nauseous. Then she couldn't catch her breath. By the time we got here, her lips were turning blue." Dr. Robert Sterling appeared at my elbow. "Jonathan, I heard Tara was here." "Bobby, how is she?" "Stable, but we're running tests." "Jonathan, she mentioned chocolates you gave her?" "Chocolates Harry gave me for my birthday. I passed them on to Tara." Bobby's expression changed. "I need to ask you something. Did those chocolates smell like anything unusual? Bitter almonds, maybe?" "I never opened the box." "We need to test them. Now." Bobby disappeared and returned 10 minutes later with Detective Lisa Crawford. Lisa was carrying an evidence bag containing the Godiva chocolate box. "Jonathan," Lisa said quietly, "we ran a field test on the remaining chocolates. They tested positive for cyanide." The room seemed to tilt. Even though I'd suspected, even though I'd prepared for this moment, hearing it confirmed felt like being punched in the chest. "How much?" I asked. "Enough to kill you 3 times over. 450 milligrams mixed into the chocolate cream filling. Whoever did this knew what they were doing." Tara's eyes were wide with shock. "Someone tried to poison Dad?" "Someone tried to poison Dad," Lisa confirmed. "And if you'd eaten the whole piece instead of just nibbling the edges, you'd be dead right now." "Who would do this?" James demanded. I looked at Lisa. She nodded. "The chocolates came from my son Harry," I said quietly. The silence in the room was deafening. Tara's heart monitor beeped steadily in the background. "Dad," Tara whispered, "that's impossible." "Is it?" I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a manila folder. 3 weeks ago, Harry changed my life insurance policy, made himself the sole beneficiary. $2.3 million. I handed the MetLife documents to James. He forged my signature, used my online account access. "This can't be right," Tara said, but her voice was weak. Lisa opened her own folder. "We got a search warrant for Harry's computer an hour ago. Found some interesting search history." She read from a printed sheet. "How much cyanide is lethal? Cyanide detection and autopsy. Heart attack symptoms versus poison symptoms. Life insurance payout, timeline after death. All searched within the last 2 weeks," she continued. "Also found this." She showed us a screenshot of Harry's Amazon purchase history. Pool shock chemicals, jewelry cleaner, a chocolate injection kit used by professional confectioners. "And this," Lisa added, pulling out another evidence bag. "Found in Harry's kitchen garbage. Empty containers of bitter almond extract, chemistry equipment, rubber gloves." The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable. "There's more," Lisa said. "Harry's phone records show he called MetLife 17 times in the past month, asking about payout procedures, required documentation, timeline for processing claims." She paused, letting that sink in. "And yesterday, 2 hours before your birthday dinner, Harry searched, 'How long does cyanide stay in system after death?'" Tara started crying. "He planned to kill you." "And he planned to kill me," I confirmed. "Make it look like a heart attack. Collect the insurance money." "But why give you the chocolates at the restaurant?" James asked. "In front of everyone?" "Perfect alibi," Lisa answered. "Harry gives Dad chocolates at a family birthday dinner. Dad takes them home, eats them later, dies alone in his house. Looks like natural causes. By the time anyone thinks to test for poison, if they ever do, Harry's the grieving son, making funeral arrangements. Except Dad didn't eat them, Tara said weakly. Except Dad's a 32-year veteran detective who's seen this exact scenario before, I said. Patricia Hawkins, 1996. Cyanide in coffee. Same M.O. Dr. Sterling reappeared with a tablet. Tara, your blood work came back. Cyanide levels are elevated but not fatal. You're going to be fine, but we're keeping you overnight for observation. What about Harry? James asked. Lisa closed her folder. Officers are picking him up right now. He's being charged with attempted murder, insurance fraud, elder abuse, and forgery. He's looking at 25 to life. My phone buzzed. Text message from Harry. Dad, how are you feeling? Did you enjoy the chocolates? I showed the message to Lisa. She shook her head. He's still checking to see if his plan worked, even after Tara's been hospitalized. What do I tell him? I asked. Lisa thought for a moment. Tell him you haven't eaten them yet. See what he says. I typed back. Haven't eaten them yet. Saving for special occasion. Harry's response came immediately. You should try one tonight. They're really good. Perfect for relaxing before bed. Perfect for relaxing before bed. My son was literally encouraging me to eat poison before going to sleep when no one would find my body until morning. Jesus, James whispered, reading over my shoulder. Lisa took screenshots of the text exchange. Evidence of continuing criminal intent. This actually makes our case stronger. 20 minutes later, Lisa got another call. Harry had been arrested at his apartment. When officers arrived, he was destroying evidence, flushing chemicals down the toilet, burning papers in his fireplace, wiping his computer hard drive. Too late, though, Lisa said. We got everything we needed from the initial search. I sat down heavily in the visitor's chair. 38 years of raising that boy, teaching him to ride a bike, helping with homework, walking him down the aisle at his wedding, and it had come to this. Dad, Tara said softly, I'm so sorry. For what? For not believing you. At dinner, when Harry was talking about assisted living and cognitive decline, I thought maybe he had a point. He was very convincing. He was manipulating all of us. He was desperate. People do terrible things when they're desperate. Dr. Sterling returned with discharge papers. Tara, you can go home tomorrow morning. Jonathan, you'll need to stay available for the investigation. I'm not going anywhere, I said. As we left the hospital, I thought about something Patricia Hoffman had told me earlier. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who hurt us most, because they know exactly where our weak spots are. Harry had known mine perfectly. My grief over Eleanor, my fear of becoming a burden, my love for my family. He'd almost gotten away with it. Almost. The next morning, Detective Crawford called me at 6 a.m. Jonathan, we need you to come in. Harry's asking for a lawyer, but he wants to talk to you first. Why would he want to talk to me? I think he's hoping you'll convince us this was all a misunderstanding. An hour later, I was sitting across from my oldest son in interview room 3 at the Denver Police Department. Harry looked like he hadn't slept. His hair was messy, his clothes wrinkled, his eyes red and puffy. Dad, he said as soon as I walked in, thank God you're here. This is all insane. Is it? They're saying I tried to poison you. Me, your own son. Did you? Harry's face crumpled. Dad, how can you even ask me that? Because there's cyanide in the chocolates you gave me. I didn't put cyanide in anything. Someone else must have... Harry, stop. I would never hurt you, ever. You changed my insurance policy. That was a mistake. A computer error. I was trying to help... Harry, stop lying! He was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Smaller. I'm in trouble, Dad. I know. Real trouble. The kind of trouble that gets people killed. For the first time since this whole thing started, Harry sounded like my little boy again, scared and desperate and looking to his father to fix everything. How much do you owe? I asked. $183,500. To who? People you don't want to owe money to. Loan sharks. Worse than loan sharks. He was crying now. Real tears, not the crocodile tears he'd used to manipulate the family at dinner. They gave me until Christmas to pay up. Said if I didn't, they'd hurt Linda. hurt the kids. Linda was his ex-wife. The kids were my grandchildren, 8 and 10 years old. So you decided to kill me. I wasn't thinking straight. I was desperate. I am desperate. You researched cyanide for weeks, Harry. You bought equipment. You practiced. That's not desperation. That's premeditation. I know how it looks. It doesn't just look like attempted murder. It is attempted murder. Harry put his head in his hands. I never meant for anyone else to get hurt. Tara almost died. I know, and I hate myself for it. Do you? 'Cause when I texted you last night, you told me I should eat the chocolates before bed. He looked up startled. You texted me? I texted you. You responded. You encouraged me to eat poison. I didn't know Tara was in the hospital yet. You thought I was still alive and you wanted to finish the job. Harry was quiet for a long moment. Yeah, he said finally. I did. It was the first honest thing he'd said since I'd walked into the room. They offered me a deal, Harry continued. Plead guilty to attempted murder, get 15 to 20 instead of life. Are you going to take it? I don't know. My lawyer says I should fight it. Says the evidence is circumstantial. The evidence isn't circumstantial, Harry. The evidence is overwhelming. You could help me, Dad. How? You could say you gave the chocolates to Tara before checking them, that you suspected something was wrong, but you weren't sure what. You want me to lie. I want you to help your son. By lying under oath in a criminal trial. By giving me a chance. I looked at my boy, 42 years old, sitting in a police station, facing life in prison for trying to murder his father. This was the baby I'd held in the delivery room, the toddler who'd called me daddy, the teenager who'd asked my advice about girls and college and career choices. Harry, I said quietly, do you understand what you're asking me to do? I'm asking you to save me. You're asking me to help you escape consequences for trying to kill me. I'm asking you to be my father. I am your father. That's why I can't do what you're asking. Harry stared at me. What do you mean? Being your father means teaching you that actions have consequences. It means not enabling your worst impulses. It means loving you enough to let you face the truth. The truth is, I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. The truth is, you put cyanide in chocolates and gave them to me, hoping I'd die so you could collect my life insurance money. That's not the whole truth. What's the rest of it? The rest of it is I'm your son and I'm asking for help and you're saying no. I'm saying I won't lie for you. Same thing. No, it's not. Harry leaned forward. Dad, if you don't help me, I'll tell them about the times you hit me when I was a kid. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I never hit you. I'll say you did. I'll say you were abusive. That this whole thing was me finally standing up to my abuser. You're going to perjure yourself. I'm going to survive. This was it. The final mask coming off. My son was threatening to destroy my reputation, to rewrite our entire family history, to turn himself into a victim and me into a monster. Harry, I said calmly, you're going to do whatever you think you need to do, but you're going to do it without my help. Dad, I'm done. I stood up. I'm done being manipulated. I'm done being treated like a fool. I'm done enabling you. Please, you tried to murder me, Harry. Not a stranger. Me, your father, the man who raised you, who loved you, who would have done anything for you. I know. You researched how to kill me. You bought the poison. You mixed it into chocolates. You gave them to me with a smile and told me how much you loved me. I was desperate, and when your plan failed, when Tara ate the poison instead, you texted me encouraging me to eat more. I didn't know. You didn't care. You wanted me dead, and you didn't care who else got hurt. Harry was crying again, but this time it felt different, like grief instead of manipulation. What happens now? He asked. Now you face the consequences. What about Linda? What about the kids? What about them? If I go to prison, if something happens to them because I can't pay back the money, you should have thought about that before you decided to commit murder. Dad, please. I looked at my son one last time. saw the little boy he'd been, the man he'd become, the choices that had led him here. I love you, Harry. I always will, but I won't save you from this. I walked out of the interview room and didn't look back. The story hit the Denver Post 3 days later. Local man arrested for attempting to poison father for insurance money. The headline ran above a photo of Harry in handcuffs being led into the courthouse. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. and didn't stop until I unplugged it that evening. Mr. Monroe, this is Channel 7 News. Would you be willing to speak about your son's arrest? Mr. Monroe, 9 News. We'd like to interview you about the alleged murder plot. Mr. Monroe, this is a producer from Dateline NBC. We're interested in your story. I didn't talk to any of them. Didn't want my family's destruction turned into entertainment. But the story spread anyway. Social media picked it up. Reddit threads, Facebook posts, YouTube videos analyzing the case. Somehow, despite my efforts to stay private, details leaked out. Harry's gambling addiction, the loan sharks, the insurance fraud, the cyanide in the chocolates, even the text messages where Harry encouraged me to eat the poison. The comments were brutal. What kind of monster tries to kill his own father? Death penalty for this piece of garbage. The old man should have seen this coming. Family doesn't just turn evil overnight. That last one stung because part of me wondered if it was true. Had there been signs I'd missed? Warning signals I'd ignored? I called my therapist, Dr. Patricia Klein, who I'd been seeing since Eleanor died. Jonathan, she said, you're not responsible for Harry's choices. Aren't I? I raised him. If he's capable of this, you raised 4 children. 3 of them are good people. This was true. Tara was an elementary school teacher who volunteered at homeless shelters. Carl ran a nonprofit helping veterans find housing. Pete was a firefighter who'd saved dozens of lives. Harry made his own decisions, Dr. Klein continued. Adult decisions. Criminal decisions. Then why do I feel like I failed him? Because you're a father. That's what fathers do. Harry's preliminary hearing was scheduled for December 15th. The prosecutor, Assistant DA Margaret Walsh, called me the day before. Mr. Monroe, we need you to testify about the insurance fraud and the text messages. I'll be there. I should warn you, Harry's lawyer is going to try to paint you as a vengeful father who's exaggerating evidence to punish his son. Let him try. They might also argue that Harry was mentally compromised by financial stress, that this was a cry for help rather than a serious murder attempt. 450 milligrams of cyanide isn't a cry for help. It's a death sentence. The courtroom was packed. Local news crews, curious onlookers, family members from both sides. Tara sat in the front row with James. Carl and Pete sat beside them. Harry's ex-wife, Linda, was there with her parents, but not the kids, thank God. Harry looked smaller in his orange jumpsuit, thinner. He wouldn't make eye contact with me when I took the witness stand. Margaret Walsh walked me through the timeline. The insurance fraud, the suspicious behavior, the birthday dinner, the poisoned chocolates. Mr. Monroe, she said, when you handed the chocolates to your daughter, did you suspect they contained poison? I suspected something was wrong, yes. Based on what? 32 years of police work. Harry's behavior had been escalating. He'd gained access to my finances, changed my insurance policy without permission, started talking about my declining mental health. When he insisted I eat the chocolates immediately, every instinct I had said, danger. So you used your daughter as a test subject? The question hit me like a punch. I saw Harry's lawyer lean forward, sensing an opening. No, I said carefully. I gave the chocolates to someone who would eat them in small amounts, with other people around, rather than consuming them alone late at night, when no one would find my body until morning. You believed the chocolates were poisoned, but you gave them to your daughter anyway? I believed something was wrong. I didn't know what. I made a judgment call to minimize risk. A judgment call that nearly killed your daughter. Objection, Margaret Walsh said. Argumentative. Sustained. But the damage was done. Harry's lawyer had planted the seed. What kind of father uses his daughter to test potentially poisoned food? The cross-examination was worse. Mr. Monroe, Harry's lawyer said, Isn't it true that you've been suffering from depression since your wife's death? I've been grieving, yes. And isn't it true that you've been seeing a therapist for this depression? I've been seeing a therapist to help process my grief. And isn't it true that this grief has affected your judgment? I don't believe so. Really? You just testified that you gave potentially poisoned chocolates to your daughter. I testified that I made a judgment call to minimize risk. By endangering your daughter's life, by preventing my own death, or by setting up an elaborate scheme to frame your son. The courtroom erupted. Margaret Walsh objected. The judge called for order, but I could see some of the jurors looking at me with new skepticism. Mr. Monroe, the lawyer continued, isn't it true that you've always had a difficult relationship with Harry? No, it's not true. Isn't it true that you've always favored your other children? No. Isn't it true that you resented Harry's attempts to help you after your wife died? I resented his attempts to control me. Control you how? By taking over my finances without permission, by changing my insurance policy without my knowledge, by trying to convince my family I was mentally incompetent, or by trying to help an elderly widower who was making poor decisions. I wasn't making poor decisions. Weren't you? You forgot to pay bills. You forgot important dates. You drove to the store in your pajamas. Those are lies. Are they? Or are they the observations of a concerned son watching his father decline? This went on for 2 hours. By the end, I felt like I was the one on trial. But Margaret Walsh's redirect was effective. Mr. Monroe, did you put cyanide in those chocolates? No. Did you change your insurance policy to make Harry the sole beneficiary? No. Did you search the internet for information about cyanide poisoning? No. Did you buy chemistry equipment and bitter almond extract? No. Did you text yourself encouraging yourself to eat poisoned chocolates? No. The prosecutor rested her case. 2 days later, Harry pled guilty to attempted murder in the first degree. His lawyer had advised him that the evidence was overwhelming, and his best option was to accept a plea deal. 15 to 25 years, with possibility of parole after 12. Linda called me that evening. "Jonathan, I'm sorry," she said. "I had no idea Harry was capable of this." Neither did I. "The kids keep asking when Daddy's coming home. What do you tell them?" "I tell them Daddy made some bad choices, and he has to go away for a while." "How are they handling it?" "As well as can be expected. They're confused, angry, scared. If there's anything I can do..." "Actually, there is. The loan sharks. They're still looking for their money." My blood went cold. "Are you safe?" "For now. But Jonathan, I can't pay them back. I don't have that kind of money." I thought about my grandchildren, 8 and 10 years old, innocent victims of their father's crimes. How much would it take to make this go away? You're not responsible for Harry's debts. But I am responsible for my grandchildren's safety. The next morning, I liquidated part of my retirement account and paid off Harry's gambling debts. $183,500. Money that should have gone to my children's inheritance, now gone to protect my grandchildren from loan sharks. It was worth every penny. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my kitchen. The same kitchen where Harry convinced me to give him access to my bank accounts, drinking coffee from Eleanor's favorite mug. The house feels different now, smaller, quieter, but it's mine. I changed the locks the day after Harry's sentencing, changed my bank account passwords, hired a new state attorney to review all my legal documents, set up a trust that requires unanimous consent from all 3 remaining children before any major decisions can be made. Tara visits twice a week now, not out of obligation, but because she wants to. Carl drives down from Colorado Springs every Sunday for dinner. Pete stops by after his shifts at the firehouse. We don't talk about Harry much, but when we do, it's honest conversation. No pretending it didn't happen, no making excuses. Just acknowledgement that someone we loved betrayed us, and we're all still figuring out how to live with that. Dr. Klein says I'm doing well, considering. Betrayal by a family member is one of the deepest traumas you can experience, she told me. The fact that you're functioning at all is remarkable. I don't feel remarkable. I feel like an old man who almost got murdered by his son and somehow lived to tell about it. The insurance company restored my original beneficiary designation. All 4 children listed as equal recipients. Harry's portion will now be divided among his siblings. When I die, whenever that is, Harry won't get a penny. That might sound harsh, but 32 years of police work taught me something. Consequences matter. People who face real consequences for their actions learn from them. People who don't face consequences just get better at being criminals. Sometimes Tara asks if I think Harry will ever change, ever become the man she remembers from childhood. I hope so, I tell her, but hope isn't the same thing as expectation. People ask me if I'm angry. The honest answer is yes, sometimes. I'm angry that Harry threw away 38 years of love and trust for money. I'm angry that my wife died believing all her children would take care of each other. I'm angry that my grandchildren have to grow up knowing their father tried to murder their grandfather. But mostly, I'm grateful. Grateful that Tara survived. Grateful that the other kids are safe. Grateful that I caught Harry before he killed me or someone else. The house is too big for one person. Harry was right about that. But it's my house. I built it with Eleanor. We raised our family here. I'm not leaving until I'm ready to leave. And I'm not ready yet. Trust but verify. That's my new motto. Love your family, but don't be naive about what people are capable of when money's involved. And if someone gives you chocolates, maybe test them first. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and justice? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.